Hi, guys, it's me again. I am back. I know it's been a little while and I look a little different. Um, I just wanted to come back with a episode here that I hope will help. I hope will give some a little insight. My guest today is a formerly estranged adult child who was estranged from her father for 22 years and her mom for off and on for much of that as well. So it's very interesting. I hope that you guys get some benefit from it. Please remember to like the video, comment on it, ask questions, and share the video if you can. I would appreciate it. And then, so let's just get into it. So, thank you, Ashley, for being here today. I really appreciate you taking the time to come on the show and talk to the listeners. And like I said, it's difficult from a parent's perspective to understand. So, I hope at least if we can help a little bit of people out there to understand the adult child side of it, that would be wonderful. So, I appreciate it.
Well, thank you, Donald. It's always inspiring to get to share my story and a little vulnerable too, but I'm really thankful just to get to provide hope and a real story of my perspective and how I healed. So thank you so
Awesome.
much for having me.
You bet. You bet.
So I live in Dallas, Texas, and I am 39 years old, and I was estranged from my dad for 22 years. We had no contact. I was born and raised in Tulsa, Oklahoma, and currently live in Dallas. And I was raised in a pretty traditional, typical Catholic home, two parents. I have three younger siblings. And everything was pretty white picket fence growing up. Never wanted for anything, good schools, loving family in many ways. And never could have imagined there would be a point where I would be estranged from both of my parents as an adult. When I was a late teenager, my parents got a divorce, and that was really a big shift in our family dynamics. You know, my dad moved out of the home. I stayed in the home with my three younger siblings and my mom, and I was 17 at the time. And my mom got full custody. My mom got full custody of our kids. I didn't really fully understand that until recent years when we reconciled and talked about it. But so from that age, I was 17 until a year ago, 38 or 16 to 38 years old, had no contact with my dad. And it's taken a lot of healing and a lot of uh, processing that I've done over the last 2 years to understand how that even happened. But the best way I can explain it was I was like a vault for 22 years, and no one could touch me on this topic. No one could talk to me about this topic. I never talked about it with anyone. Well, it was a deeply private, hidden part of my life. I didn't even really understand what it was or why it was happening. Um, and while I wasn't completely estranged, like no contact with my mom for those 22 years, we did have an incredibly rocky relationship. So there might be 3 or 5 years where we just didn't talk. A year where we would kind of talk in a superficial way, and then there'd be a huge argument. We wouldn't talk again for another 3 or 5 years. So we were pretty much a little contact or a strange contact for most of those 22 years as well. And it wasn't until I was 37, Donald, that I started to really just look at my life and the totality of it and realize that if I didn't heal and figure out a solution to this part of my life, everything else in my life wasn't really making sense. And I knew that I wanted to heal this, but I just didn't know how to take the first step. The best way I could explain it was the bridge had collapsed, and neither me or my mom or my dad and I knew how to even put the first brick of the bridge up. So we needed outside help to be able to help us get to a place where we could have some kind of a relationship. So 2 years ago, I found a program through my church called Regeneration, which is a 12-step program, which was incredible. And through this 12-step program, going through it for a year, had lots of people and community around me understanding this issue and learning about myself for the first time. And part of a 12-step program, Donald, that you may be familiar with it, is making amends, forgiveness, amends, and reconciliation with people. And I had
Right.
never heard that word before, amends, making amends with people. But having this step-by-step process of reaching out to my parents, extending and receiving forgiveness for my own role in my matters, and receiving God's grace was a huge part of that as well. And I needed to take that time and have people around me who knew nothing about my family, strangers who I'd met in this program, walk me through it, kind of hold me accountable when I thought it might fail or it might not work or I would be scared,
Right.
and then bringing my family into the process. So I have spent the last year getting to know my dad. We quite literally were strangers. Seeing him across the room, I didn't know what he would look like. He didn't know what I would look like on our first phone call. It was literally that level of strangers. I'd lived with this person for 17 years and we had been
Wow.
estranged the last 22 years. So, didn't know what he would look like, didn't know what he would sound like, didn't know what he was doing, didn't know where he lived, didn't know anything about him. I knew he was married. That's all I knew. That's all I knew at this point. That's all he really knew about me at this point. So we have spent the last year, my dad and I, getting to know one another on a friendship type of basis. Um, really being quite intentional with our times together, travels back and forth. We have weekly FaceTimes. So this is a story I just like to share with people, Donald, because I like to present hope, not only to parents, but to people my age. This is a very isolating issue. It's a very isolating issue. It's deeply private, it's deeply painful, and it's something that in my book, I call it the wall that has no name. It wasn't something that I could even articulate to people. People would ask me, well, why don't you just reach out to your dad? Why don't you just reach out to your mom? Just find their phone number and call them. And it was so much more complex and complicated than that. So I like to show people who are in my position, maybe in their 20s, 30s, or 40s, and they're no contact with their parents. I like to show them what life looks like after estrangement. Life is better. Life is full of joy. Life is more abundant. There's healing. There's healing available. And so that's a little bit of my story. I currently today have a relationship with both my mom, Christine, and my dad, Joe. It's not perfect. It's not a storybook, but it's healing for both of us. It's healing for all three of us. It's actually this reconciliation that we've been going has been creating tides of healing in my whole family, with my three younger siblings as well, also have limited contact with them as well. So that's a whole different dimension of the story, but it's really beautiful just how um, God has come into my family through me, helping me be a peacemaker and helping me help my parents and the rest of my family see Christ and see this journey that I've been on. So that's my reconciliation story. There's a lot more to it, but 22 years of zero contact. I hope that number is hopeful to someone out there who's maybe been no contact for a few years. 22 years, and the Lord changed everything in a matter of months. So there is hope and opportunity out there.
That's awesome. Yeah, I was going to ask about your siblings and see if they had similar experiences as you as far as being apart from your parents. So I guess they did, huh?
You did no contact or limited contact
Yeah.
for many years. So
Okay.
we live in many different states. We live in 6 different states, which is kind of a form of estrangement in itself.
Yeah.
When you're that distant and that far away physically, it's challenging. So yes, my siblings have limited or no contact, but through my reconciliation that I've instilled with my parents, my siblings are coming around. Um,
Okay.
I'm helping my parents see ways that they can better communicate with my three younger siblings, kind of facilitating conversations in a healthy way. Well, we would have said it a little differently. You could reach out this way. You could say this. Oh, I didn't realize I sounded that way. So I'm kind of helping my parents when things come up.
Yeah.
And it's rocky. It can be rocky at times, but I really see how I'm leading the way as the oldest of 4 kids to heal
Mm,
that and would do that hard work on myself. My siblings are seeing that as well. So they're not as far along. They're not as far along as I am, and that's okay. I'm the oldest, and I've done a lot of work on myself. But they're definitely seeing a light at the end of the tunnel. So
well, that's awesome. How do your people of my generation can sometimes be, stuck in our ways, like a lot of people can. How are your parents taking the I guess, advice or the direction from you? Is it difficult for them to listen and to accept that?
I would say definitely not. They're very receptive to uh,
Good.
just some of my suggestions and things.
Cool.
That's been really great as well. So yeah. Mhm.
Awesome. Awesome. Um, so over the years that you were separated, especially from your dad, how did you deal with people? Because like when they where special days come up, birthdays, anniversaries, whatever, and people asked you questions, how did you deal with that on your end?
I would describe myself as a vault. I had scripted canned answers. I would tell people I was estranged. That was my story, and I very identified with that. It was like a rally cry. It was like a name tag I would wear. I'm estranged. I'm estranged from my dad, and that was it. The tone was we are not talking any further about that. I don't want to go any longer about that. So, in the rare time someone at work or someone, a friend would come up, that was just the totality of the conversation. I didn't like to go deeper than that, and that was part of the problem. Was I was so isolated. I didn't really have people around me, which I think is really common with millennials and younger Gen X. We're so isolated. We don't have community. We're moving away from our family, doing our own independent thing, and it's like no one really knows what's going on. And so I didn't really have either a relationship or a true friend who would not only listen but would kind of lovingly call me out on what was going on. So it wasn't until I had a good friend of mine at church that invited me to this 12-step program. She knew about the depravity and extent of situation going on in my family. A friend that really cared about me and wasn't just ready to just accept the story, but wanted to see me heal and wanted to see me get better. That was a turning point for me, was having someone who cared about me and loved me enough to invite me to recovery. So that was kind of my story. I'm estranged. I'm estranged, and I believed that word, and that
Yeah.
was how I told people about it.
And how was your, I guess, aside from that, your life while you were estranged? Did it have lasting or did it have major effects on other parts of your life, work, kids, if you have any, that kind of thing?
Oh, absolutely. I was not open to any of that. I was not open to had a few kind of romantic relationships. I've never been married, never
Okay.
had children, and I absolutely think that part of my life was just blocked off. I wasn't open to extending the family. I wasn't open to um, because that part of my life was so damaged, I wasn't open to, I was just the pain was so deep on that. So no, I never got
Sure.
married, never had children. And very much I think that was because of the pain and the processing I was going through with being estranged. So definitely impacted relationships. Either preventing relationships or coming to a relationships with more of a place of fear of someone leaving you or things not working out. So it's interesting how this, I'm no counselor or psychologist, but how this parent child, if that's broken, it really impacts every area of your life. And I don't think that's something we fully understand, but it's definitely true.
For sure. Do you see, I mean, I know you're only a year in, at this point, and you guys have a lot of healing to do, but if you choose to at some point, is that something you can see you wanting to do now is to, have a relationship, potentially have a family, at some point now that you're starting the healing journey?
Absolutely. It's been like a light went on. Like a light
Awesome.
went on in my life of uh, having healthy dating relationships, wanting to have children. I really didn't want to have children until my reconciled with my parents. And that was a very strange kind of
That's
light
interesting.
that went on. And, I think I always subconsciously wondered, well, if I have kids, will they have grandparents? Will they have, parents like that? And um, there's something about that. So yes, now that I've reconciled, my all of my friendships have opened up. My relationships have opened up. My openness to people is completely different. So I'm thankful for that.
Yeah, so like you said, it really blocked off like a whole part of you, it sounds like.
Yeah, yeah, absolutely. Very much a vault, very much like being in a room and the lights being turned off. And so I kind of wore a mask. I wore a mask at work. I wore a mask at church. I wore a mask with relationships. And I was just coping. I was just coping. So.
What was the turning point for you to want to reach out and try to make this healthy?
hmm Well, I found this program, Regeneration, which is a 12-step Bible-based discipleship program and recovery program here in Dallas. And I had no idea what this program entailed. I didn't know you make amends in a 12-step program. I didn't know you reconcile with people in a 12-step program. But through this program and going through these biblical steps, um, um, you get to a place where you are expected to make amends. You're expected to reach out to people you've harmed, reach out to people who've harmed you, ask for forgiveness and extend forgiveness. And for me, that was a letter writing. It was a letter writing process to both my dad and my mom. Quite a long letter that I wrote with good counsel at my church. So that was the turning point for me, realizing I extended forgiveness to my parents. I asked for forgiveness from them for my own pride, humility, lack of communication, all the things that I was also struggling with. So it was really that part of making amends, which is cleaning up my side of the street. We call that cleaning up our side of the street, being willing to fully own my part of the process and explaining that to the other person, not expecting anything in return, but just sweeping up my side of the street and coming to that person with a heart of apology. And so for me, it was just the amends step that I was going through.
Did your parent, or I guess mostly your dad, but I know you said you were strained with your mom too, off and on. Did they attempt ever to reach out to you during that time?
During the 22 years, I think I talked to my dad one time, maybe, and it was a very brief text. My dad reached out to me and said, "It's been too long. It's been too long." And I didn't even know how to receive that. But so truly no contact for about 22 years. I think we had blocked phone numbers at some point. I didn't have his phone number. My dad also lived, across the country, so it wasn't as simple as going, knock on someone's door and go see what they're doing.
Right.
Uh, and so no contact with my dad. My mom certainly tried a bit more. My mom tried a bit more with texting and Facebook, and we would go on little vacations and things like that. So our relationship was a little bit more. And we also live within drive. My mom was 4 hours away from me, so we would see each other a bit more frequently.
Sure.
So that's a frequent question I ask. Well, why didn't your dad reach out to you? Why didn't your mom reach out to you? I think my dad did in his way and felt ignored. The one time I did reach out and just didn't try again and just didn't try again. So,
What do you think parents um, going through this, what would be a couple of common mistakes that they might make when trying to reach out?
that's a really great question. I think I talk a lot in my book about avoiding surface level communication. So a lot of times my parents would say things that were kind of uh, not fully owning everything. So, I'm sorry. Okay, what are we sorry for? Okay, let's talk a bit
Sure.
deeper. Talk a bit deeper about that. Or, a happy birthday with a gift card. It was kind of a token, I guess you call it token type of communication, or something that really wasn't getting to the heart of the matter. And I don't fault my parents for this. I just don't think that was in their skill set or even understanding at the time. But I tell people reject surface level communication, try to be open. Matthew 5:9 says, "Blessed are the peacemakers." So something we work on today, my mom and my dad and I, is we try to make peace instead of fake peace or pretend like peace is there and it's not. Um, but I would say that having a little bit more intentional communication, carving out that time, that would have been really helpful as well. Like, hey, I'd love to talk every Wednesday at 2 o'clock or every Friday at 2 o'clock. I also think, Donald, a lot of parents don't understand how in pain their kids are. I was in a lot of pain. I was in just deep, deep pain for many years over this. But if you saw me on social media or saw me on Facebook, life looked really grand. So I think parents don't really understand how much pain their kids might be in during the estrangement. Even if everything might look great on the surface. There's a lot of pain underneath that. I truly don't think any child wants to be estranged from a parent. I just don't. We want a good relationship with our parents. We want to have a mom we can go to, a dad we can go to. So um, understanding there's hurt there, even in the silence. There's a level of pain that's definitely there as well.
Yeah.
Um, so yeah.
Okay. What would you say surprised you most during the reconciliation process?
Hmm. I was very pleasantly surprised by meeting my dad again. My dad is like a different person today. He's like a
Awesome.
different person today. It's so sweet. It's so awesome. My dad has a faith. He has a faith, and he did not have a faith when I was a child.
Hmm.
So it's really amazing just to see how he's come to know Christ. He has a really godly wife who I know has been a huge part of his healing and recovery. And she's amazing. Um, um, seeing um, seeing my dad sober is great too. He wasn't sober a lot of my childhood, so he's been set free from that. So I would say just seeing how much growth my dad has gone in the last 22 years. And I didn't see that. I wasn't around for that. So just getting to see him, going to counseling. He goes to counseling now. He has a therapist who helps him through some of his struggles as well. So that was something that greatly surprised me. I think what also just surprised me is how quickly we reconnected. It was like 22 years was just that, when we met each other. There's still was a lot of learning and awkwardness and
Sure.
backtrack, but it's like that's still there. That connection of a father and daughter was still there. So I mean, within a matter of days, we're real comfortable with each other. So that was a pleasant surprise. I was worried there wouldn't be that connection after 22 years, but it truly was always there. It just had to be rekindled. So
You mentioned, and you kind of answered this, but I was going to ask. So you didn't grow up with a lot of faith in the household as far as religion or God goes.
I was raised in a Catholic home, but we didn't really pray in the home. We didn't talk about God in the home. Um, we talked about God at school, but inside of our family, that was not a part of the home life.
Interesting.
And um, that's a spiritual journey I've been on with Christ as an adult. Christ has called me to him, but that was not something as a child that was modeled to me. So it's really sweet to see today both of my parents are Christians, professed Christians, and have a faith and know Jesus, and that's huge.
Yeah.
That is so huge in this process. If you have people who know Christ and have a relationship with Jesus, he can do anything. So I have to say that has been the center of this. That has been the center of this. All of us have a belief, have our beliefs, and through that, we're able to extend grace, forgive, and grow.
That's really awesome. Excuse me. That's really awesome. So if for my parents out there that are listening to this,
Mm.
is there a tidbit or two that you would give to them for either hope or guidance to do this one thing?
Sure. So I would always recommend parents consider writing an intentional letter that's similar to the letter I wrote to my parents. The child can write it, or the adult can write it. In the letter, I would include six things: what you've realized, what you've learned, what you are apologizing for, what you're acknowledging today, what the truth is, and what you're sorry for. Those are six things that I sent to my dad and to my mom, and it was very difficult. I had to reach for some of those topics and some of those answers. Just didn't come naturally to me, or I didn't feel like I did anything, but I really did.
Hmm.
Um, just sending that letter in a posture of humility. Um, might move and stir the heart of your child. It certainly would have stirred my heart if my dad or my mom had sent something like that to me.
Okay.
Great. So I would just encourage a thoughtful letter as well, and just look at a 12-step program. It doesn't necessarily have to be for yourself. I'm in Regen, and there are a lot of parents of estranged children in Regeneration. It's beautiful because while we may never reconcile, that could happen. I hope not, but we can be reconciled to Christ and we can experience peace. I truly believe I would have found this peace and freedom even if my parents had never talked to me. You
Yeah.
know, that was just something God did, but I found peace and freedom aside from that. So I just encourage people to get into a local 12-step group. There's Celebrate Recovery, there's Regeneration. I think there's some even for parents of, just for parents like Grief Share, things like that.
Okay.
Are having community in this is so key because this is so isolating. This is so dark for people,
It
and
is.
it's so tough to work through. So I just think community is really important as well. Getting in a community like Peace, Parents of Estranged Adult Children, that's an amazing organization as well. Just finding that support system.
Well, I know you have a book coming out December 1st, I believe.
Yes.
Okay. You want to tell people a little about that?
I do. So this is really a Holy Spirit led project. I was in the car one day asking for God to send me some words and advice for kind of what to do next with my life. And God said, write this book. God said, write this book. I said, God, really? I don't want to. I don't want to. This is not the book that I thought you ever. This is going to be hard. This is not an easy ask, God. And he gave me the title, After the Locusts, A Story of Hope.
Wow.
It was just that clear, and God doesn't speak to me that clearly very often. Just to get that direction was like, okay, God, I got to do this. And so this has really become a manifesto of mine and a personal mission of mine. And I sat down and wrote this book, and the words have just flowed. The words have just flowed. The people have come around me to help me finish it and publish it. And it's been one of the best sellers in Christian Kindle books, which is just blows my mind for a while. And the title of the book is After the Locust, A Story of Hope for Anyone Estranged or No Contact with a Parent. And there's a section for kids and there's a section for parents. And this book is like a devotional slash journal slash self-help kind of book. It's not just a story about my life. It's really a book about hope. I wrote this book for the 35-year-old me, the 35-year-old me who couldn't even didn't know what to do, had no support system, but wanted change, but wanted life to look different and wanted a relationship with their parents. So that's who I wrote this book for, adults who are estranged from their parents. It tells a little bit of my story, but really it's about my life today and how much better and fuller and more peaceful my life is today, reconciled with my parents, my imperfect parents and me. But after every chapter, there are affirmations and reflection questions, that questions that I had to be asked when I was estranged from my parents. So it really helps someone just process through how they're feeling, reading my story, where they are today with their parents. And it has steps for reconciliation as well, like specific things that I did with my parents to reconcile. But I always encourage people reading my book. You do not have to reconcile. My book is not to force you to reconcile. There are some situations where reconciliation isn't safe. I know there are
Of
people out
course.
there true abuse, true situations where it's better to have distance and boundaries and things like that. But it's a book that provides a pathway for peace. It's a quick read. It's not a super long book. It's not about dragging anyone through the mud or exposing dark stuff. It's about my life and how I found freedom and healing through reconciliation with my parents. So I'm passionate about it. And it's been really sweet, Don, having not only kids come up, I say kids, like adults in their 20s, 30s, 40s come to me, but also parents, like parents looking for hope too. So I'm like, gosh, there's really a revival of this happening. And also just a need. There's a need for
For
people
sure.
talking to about this. So I'm just thankful to have this little platform. This is not a big project for me, but something that the Spirit just really laid on me, and I'm hopeful it can help just some people out there who need to hear that, who need to hear this.
Well, this is awesome. So I will. I will make sure that we have the link to your book in the comments below or in the description below. Um, and if anyone wanted to reach out to you, do you have a website? Do you have an email address you would like to share? How is that?
I don't have a website yet, but I do have my email. I'm happy to talk to anyone, direct them to some great resources as well. Maybe we can put my email in the show notes.
Absolutely. Yep.
That would be great. Sure.
Cool. Very good. Well, thank you, Ashley, for coming on today. Again, I really appreciate it. I think it's going to be a great help to not only the parents, but kids that are watching this. Maybe they can get a glimmer of something to do based on some of the steps that you've taken. So, um, but anyway, I really appreciate it.